there's something we're here to bring to the world. We think that we need to find our purpose. But in my own personal journey, it was about facing my purpose, about aligning with it.
Purpose isn't something outside of self, it's something within self.
And if we're going to align with our own purpose, we need to know who we are.
We came here to experience the world. And the only way that each one of us can do that is from within.
You get to a point where you're just naturally in the moment. How do you become so present?
We first have to understand the future is worth it. The tears, the pain, the future is worth the fight. Martian Manhunter, Justice League.
I love that we are just that diehard.
What does that invoke in you?
You know, given that we are talking this time about aligning with our purpose, it means a lot. And I know when we first talked about this and how aligning with purpose can be a very challenging thing to do, really. So often we think that we need to find our purpose, that it's somewhere out there and we need to go seek it. But in my own personal journey, it wasn't about finding my purpose. It was about facing my purpose, about aligning with it. Because it was always in me. I knew that I was here to be in service, that I was here to embody love. But that was scary. That was scary as all get out. And it certainly didn't have a secure future. So when you bring up that quote, it's like, the future is worth it. But it certainly, when I would think about my purpose, didn't feel like a very secure future. A secure future was going into the corporate world and having a secure job and aligning myself with a large paycheck and using my intellect to move up corporate ladders, which is what I did. But my purpose wasn't that. So I never felt like I fit. And it ultimately started to take my health, my mental, my physical, my emotional, my spiritual health. And it robbed all of those from me because I wasn't living my authentic purpose for being here. I wasn't aligned with my purpose. And so that quote very much does reflect as true for me, because all of the tears and all of the pain and the fear really that I had around aligning with my purpose, that wasn't worth it. But everything I went through to let go of all of that and align with my purpose when I finally accepted it, my future was worth it to get to where I am now and be fully in my purpose and to stop believing that I couldn't live the purposeful life that I was here to live. So it's huge.
It's powerful. Yeah, I mean, all the tears, all the pain, we're going to experience that regardless of whether we're aligned or misaligned.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to make a choice, it's kind of like back to that discussion that we've had with some of our team members about choose your hard, right?
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be hard. And I think I feel like you're really bringing up a great point in this process of aligning or facing your purpose. And so much of this finding and this conversation around finding your purpose, I know we've had a lot of podcasts around this. For those who are new and listening, it's really, for us, purpose isn't something outside of self, it's something within self. And it's more about intention. If we really want to understand purpose, we first have to understand intention.
Yeah.
And then from intention, we have to practice that. And we have to engage in intention on a regular basis because something is only purposeful if we are bringing purpose to it. Like anything can be our purpose
Yeah.
because it's not about it being outside of ourselves. It's about, what is it that I feel and how do I breathe that purpose into what I do? So aligning with purpose is actually from the being state, not the doing state. And I feel like that's a big disconnect when it comes to the conversation around purpose as a whole. And when there's a disconnect, no wonder the future feels disconnected.
Do you ever get tired of that negative voice in your head telling you what you can and cannot do? My name is Amber Mikesell, and I personally got tired of that villainous voice controlling my inner realm. So I wrote this book, Silence Your Inner Critic. It's a comic book type series where you go in and you fight that villainous foe all along an epic quest. You can learn more about this fun filled adventure over at silenceyourinnercritic.com, and you can purchase your copy right there, or you can purchase it wherever you enjoy buying books. There's so much fear that, and I can only speak from my experience and then things I've heard others say, but that's still hearsay, right? In my own experience, if I kept feeling like, okay, well, if I know that my purpose is to share love with others, well, then I can do loving acts and I'm still achieving my purpose. So, why can't I be shoehorn myself into this life that everybody else says is the good life?
Mm,
And as long as I'm doing loving things, then I'm still achieving my purpose. But that was an outside in view. I was always a loving person. I was It's not as though I wasn't doing kind and loving things when I was having this corporate America career, but still wasn't what I knew my purpose in my soul, that calling. And if we all sit and feel into it, we all have this inner knowing that there's something that we came here to experience.
mm,
There's something we're here to just bring to the world. That doesn't mean we have to do it as our career. It just means that there is something we're here. It's what we now call our superpowers, right? Or it's something that we innately have within us that we're here to share and to experience through that sharing. And as that's kind of our purpose, right? That's why we came to this beautiful life experience. And so here I am, I'm in this corporate environment, I am engaged in this whole flow, and I can tell it's not what I came here to experience. But I am shoehorning myself in like one of the stepsisters in Cinderella because I want that shoe to fit like there is no tomorrow. And I'm estimating others who are listening to this know what that feeling is like because it was a beautiful shoe. Man, I wanted that beautiful red bottomed shoe to fit so well. And it just didn't because it's not my purpose.
mm,
When I was attempting to drop little bits of my purpose in along the way, like, hey, maybe if I put a little padding down the side, it'll feel a little bit better because, that's a little bit of my purpose here and a little bit of my purpose there, but it didn't. It didn't fit. It still didn't fit. And when we're talking about aligning with our purpose, you can't force alignment.
mm,
You just can't. And so we have to be willing to go within and say, am I forcing alignment? with my purpose? Or is there something else that I am actively meant to be doing? And as scary as it is, how do I align with that in a way that my soul sings? Does it truly mean that I need to shift my whole life? Chances are probably not. But what does it mean then? How can I make slow, steady adjustments that will allow me to get to that point
Mhm.
so that I'm not harming my health and I'm not harming just my overall way of life? Because shoehorning yourself into a purpose that doesn't quite fit will begin to deteriorate your health. I can tell you that from experience.
Never heard of purpose padding. That's a first. So I love that. That's a great term. And I feel like you really bring up a big point here, and that's misalignment. The last part of that quote is about fighting. In some ways, it feels heroic to fight, to be against. Yeah. It feels like there's something to overcome. And I get that. But in a lot of times, fighting is a byproduct of misalignment.
Mhm.
When we're aligned, why would we need to fight?
Yeah. There's nothing to
There's
fight.
nothing to fight.
Mhm.
When we are misaligned, then it tends to be a natural byproduct. And so the question is, if we are so focused on wanting to experience our purpose and we feel we're in a constant fight, you know, what's going on here? Then what is the misalignment? And the only way to really fully understand that, I feel, is to go within, as you're talking about. Because so many times I've seen people, and I've even done this, where you go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, attempting to fulfill something. But that something can't be fulfilled from outside. And so it's just a deferment of misalignment. And it's just, again, it's the outside to in, outside to in. But we didn't come here to have the world experience us. We came here to experience the world. And the only way that each one of us can do that is from within.
Yeah.
And so if we want to feel aligned, then we first have to understand where in ourselves can we align who we are, align with our authentic selves, align with our self-love, align with our self-confidence, align with our self-worth. When we can get those aligned, then what we do is just what we do. You can be aligned and purposeful brushing your teeth. You can
Yes.
be aligned and purposeful, you know, being on a stage and talking to thousands of people. Our perception is that they're different. The reality is that they aren't, because one creates the other and the other creates the other one back. Like there is no separation between the experience. And those who are consistently aligned and show up as consistently who they are is because they're consistently who they are at every level of self, or as many levels of self as they possibly can, given their current awareness.
That's a very beautiful reflection. And it's also very beneficial in sharing when you can get to that alignment stage. You get to a point where you're just naturally in the moment.
Mm.
That is another, I mean, we get asked a lot of questions when we travel and when we go to different places. And one of them is, how do you become so present? And there are techniques for becoming present. There are things that you can do to help you become more in the moment. But becoming aligned within yourself and knowing who you are and your purpose and living that purpose authentically is just a natural byproduct, becomes being present, because you're not worried about what happens next. You know you're going to show up authentically and express yourself as your purpose in that next moment. So you don't have that fear of, oh, what will I say? What will people think? It You're just you. It will work itself out, however it works itself out, and it will be fine.
Mhm.
And you're not so worried about what just happened because it's already happened. You can't do much about it. It's going to work out however it works out. And whatever shows up in that moment, you'll address it the same way you always address things because you are who you are. You'll grow as you grow in that moment from whatever comes forward in that moment.
Absolutely. I mean, they say time travel isn't real, but I'd say a vast majority of the world right now is living as time travelers because they are not in the present moment. They're so focused in the future, they're so focused in the past. They're just time traveling. And so when we can be in the present, I think that you're so spot on with that. That really is alignment because the now is the only thing that does exist. We have this perception of time in that sense. Everything we ever experienced happened in a now moment. Everything we will experience happened in a now moment. And when we can actually realize the beauty of the now moment and capture that, not only through presence itself, but recognize the power that it yields, that every now moment gives us the opportunity for choice. So if we don't like where we are, we can choose something different. If we really like where we are, we can keep choosing that same thing and be consistent.
Yeah. Until it changes.
And it becomes a part of you. And again, that's back to the being, not the doing.
Yes.
It's the being that is the empowerment. That is where, like you say, it's not about forcing alignment, it's about understanding it. And when people say surrender to it, oftentimes it's kind of a difficult concept to think about. It's like, well, what do I do? Just do nothing? Well, surrendering isn't about doing nothing. It's about receiving.
Mhm.
When you get a gift, are you doing anything? No, you're receiving something. That is there's a byproduct of doing that's tied to it. But you're receiving a gift, and that's an incredible thing to experience. So when you're surrendering into the now, and then you're allowing that through the receiving to be aligned with who you are and the intention you desire to bring to this experience of life, and for many that is a divine experience. Well, that doesn't have to be limited to one now moment either. You can live in that. That's to me is what oneness, like living in the one, in the moment, in the now. Like these are all this. It's all connected.
And I would offer, at least in the beginning for me, alignment and presence was probably the hardest thing I did because you become so accustomed to. I came from that corporate environment of go, go, go. And I don't mean just a normal environment, I mean the East Coast, you've got to go full on. You're working 16 to 18 hours a day. You're having meals with your family with your phone, two phones I actually had
Mhm.
by my side. You didn't really slow down. My son actually wrote a thing at school for me for Mother's Day talking about what my mom needs. Thankfully, he was number one. But number two was my cell phones, my pager at the time, and everything else was about work.
Oh,
So I came from that flow to getting into alignment with my purpose and being present. That's like going 1,000 miles an hour and suddenly hitting a brick wall. It's like, what? How did that just happen? And it was really, really challenging. So there is some doing in that being, in that we have to be willing to be with that discomfort and do the the process of being with a discomfort. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the doing is the willingness to be with the uncomfortableness that we start to feel inside, and that urge that we have to want to get up and go have another fix. It's almost like an addiction
Mm.
that happens where we want to go and do it just to see what something else is, what's going on now on my cell phone, or what's going on now with the people that I used to work with. Or we have to be willing to, as you say, in some ways surrender and receive the gift of letting that go and receiving the alignment
Mm.
within ourselves. And that is hard.
It's it's very hard.
So I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, yeah, it was just so easy.
Mhm.
It took me a full year. I call it like a detox year too.
Yeah.
It was a full year of navigating through it and reminding myself again and again of why I was doing it and how I was doing it, and the what was my authentic purpose for my why. What is my why?
Mhm.
Not what was the world feeding me as my why, but what was my soul centered why? So that then I could come from the inside out instead of the whole world coming at me from the outside in.
And it's still a practice,
Hmm.
and that's no matter what you choose, it's still going to be a practice.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. And when we are become more consciously aware of the practices that we have, then we are able to manifest more of what we desire through that experience. Purpose is really a practice. It's a practice of saying, okay, I choose to be aligned with who I am and how I desire to show up in the world. And I choose that in every conscious now moment that I can. And there are going to be moments where I'm going to forget, and that's going to happen. And we have to allow ourselves grace, and we have to allow ourselves moments of clarity that sometimes those things occur because they're supposed to open our awareness into something that we didn't even know. And then a greater version of ourself can evolve through that process. And so it's beautiful and amazing in that. But again, then it's back to the choice. And so that continuation of that choice allows for our purpose to manifest through us, not as something that we do or achieve.
So, how did alignment happen for you?
Well, first through a misalignment of my back breaking. And no, I was misaligned far before then. But having the realization in my late teens, going into college, that um, I was rewarded more for who I wasn't than who I was. That was the start of my active choosing of misalignment, thinking that it would get me to where I desired to be. What I thought all these things, all these achievements or results would get me. Um, and it did not. I mean, to some degree, it got what I thought I wanted. And then until I realized that when I had it, I didn't desire it at all. It was just a pure empty void. And that kind of started with golf being a big part of my life, and knowing I was always going to be. I felt my purpose was to be a golfer, a professional golfer, right? And through that, I wanted to be able to achieve amazing things through golf, and then I also wanted to be able to help people. The golfers make a lot of money. Hey, cool. Then I can enjoy a really great life, and I can also help people along the way and create foundations and funds and all that kind of stuff that some of the best golfers in the world have done and really made an impact. Incredible. And when I broke my back in college, with a herniated disc explosion in my neck, my back, 3 cracked ribs, vertigo, and psoas, and I told I was never going to play golf again, then that obviously changed my life trajectory. I didn't know what to do. I definitely didn't want to go inside. I didn't want to feel. anything. I didn't want to feel the loss that I just had. And I didn't want to understand the ego death that I just experienced. And so I started placing myself outside even further. So I got into entrepreneurship and the idea of multipreneur.
Gotta have that
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yes. I want to have 80 companies because one isn't enough. And through that, then I'll make even more money than I ever thought, that I could have ever in golf. And so it became this, again, empty void of throwing myself into these preneurs, into these businesses and just losing myself. And then I throw myself into whether it was relationships or could be romantic or friendships or just anything outside of me, it was like I'm just throwing myself into it because I didn't want to see what was inside. And until I met you and you saw a version of me that I never thought possible, not because of what I've achieved or what I had, but you looked at me and you actually saw in the depths of my eyes and you saw what I couldn't see yet. And that was one of the most inspiring moments, not from a personal ego standpoint, but because I knew that through that, you were able to see yourself in that capacity. And again, not from an ego standpoint, but from a truth. I don't feel like there's anything more attractive. And I don't mean like aesthetically attractive. I mean like an attraction, like a deep attraction, like it's almost like a magnet attraction than there is to truth itself. We are all seeking it. We are all doing everything we can to understand it in every level, in every possible way about anything around us and within us. And so when I got to witness truth at that level of capacity, it moved the needle for me more than I could ever explain.
So, how did that? First, I appreciate that. All I did was mirror what was inside of you. You had such a depth. Fortunately, then we got to become so much more than that. But even had that not occurred, there was so much depth in you. For you not to have seen it would have just been sad for the world, not just for you, for the world. And that's true for just like every human.
Yeah, I agree.
We all have that in us. And so to be able to mirror it in a way that we can begin to see it within ourselves, like that's our whole mission. Then, of course, I got very fortunate and what happened. And now look, but that aside, at what point did it mirror enough that you saw your authentic self and your purpose? Like what you are here to just really experience on your life path.
Yeah. I don't feel, I guess in this, I can't speak for anyone else in terms of it. But for me, I don't feel like my purpose is a thing.
Mm,
I feel like my greatest alignment is in purpose itself.
fair enough.
When I bring intentionality into something, it becomes vastly more vivid, more experiential, more connected. It is real to the greatest extent. The less intention I have, the more disconnected I feel, the more removed, the more separated. I spent a lot of my life in the disconnection, in the separation, what's going to happen next and what already happened. And I was missing out on the very thing that I felt like I was here to experience, intention and purpose in and of itself. Because when that is the focus and that is the embodiment, anything you experience is life-changing. It is then when people say there's either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. Well, I feel like, and it's such a I get that. It's like, it's such an easy comment to be like, well, you know, that's so black and white. But the reality is that when nothing is a miracle, I feel that's when we're in the state of complete disconnection, separation, and just flowing between our time traveling, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
When everything is a miracle, it's because you understand purpose and intention, and you are embodying it at every level of self. And you get to see the beauty, the multitude of the beauty of the universe that we have almost no understanding of. But we don't have to understand something to fully appreciate it. We don't have to understand something to bring purpose and intention and to seek that truth through the universe, through the experience of purpose. That's inside.
That is such a beautiful reflection that we've even put purpose in a box,
Yeah.
right? For some reason, we feel like we all come with a purpose that is a thing to experience. But for you, purpose is simply purpose itself.
Mhm.
And that could be a very beautiful thing because no matter what shows up in your life, it is purposeful.
Mhm.
And you're experiencing your purpose as a result of it.
Yes.
For me, I do feel like I have a very specific, and it is a driving force for me.
Mhm.
But that doesn't discount me having that feeling for me,
Mhm.
you having that feeling for you. That doesn't make mine wrong and yours right, or yours wrong and mine right.
Mhm.
It just means that from a soul, we likely came with very different desired experiences.
Mhm.
And as long as we're in alignment with our own respective ones, then we can feel like we are living fully in alignment with what makes us feel the most expansive.
Mhm.
Where we start to then pull ourselves into narrow is if I were to start saying, no, yours is no, it has to be a thing. Purpose is a thing and you have to do it. Now, suddenly, I've constricted both of our experiences because I'm telling you, yours has to be a certain way. And now, if my entire alignment with purpose is to be the expansion of love, well, how am I doing that at that point? Right. And we have to begin to, if we're aligning with our purpose, live that purpose fully and not tell others how to live their purpose fully.
Mhm.
Give the grace and the space for everyone to understand what is their, how do they feel most aligned with their purpose, even if we don't understand it.
Mhm.
Not easy. Not easy, but important.
And you're right. It isn't easy. It's especially when we see potential.
Hmm.
We see, maybe we see something that someone can achieve and they're not achieving it. And we're like, oh, we think they should do this. But their purpose is, their understanding of their purpose is something different.
Hmm.
And just because someone can do something doesn't mean they should.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of choice. That's the beauty of experience.
And who's to say that at some point their alignment won't get them there in the future,
100%. 100%.
right?
Hey, I could still play golf, on the senior tour. Nothing's stopping me when I'm in my 60s. Why not?
Exactly.
I could do it. I could not, and that's fine too. But yeah, it doesn't have to be in the exact way.
So, what are tools as we're wrapping up here? What are tools that you found helpful to sift through the muck, to get to that alignment space? So, if somebody listened to this and they're like, yes, I'm in a place where I would like to align with my purpose, that the tears and the pain are worth it. I want to take the first step. What would you say?
I'd say purpose. Please understand relative perspective of self evolution.
Words.
That's been the greatest teacher for me, is the internal side of it.
But I'm gonna throw this back at you because the first time someone told me to go inside, I was like, "I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
What do you mean go within? I can close my eyes, but all I see is the inside of my eyelids. I don't know what you mean go within."
Yes. I wish this was more of a skill. I wish this was more of something that we actually learned in school. The skill of actually learning. I almost want to say I want to say charisma for lack of a better term, but it's more like understanding how to be friends with people. And we tend to, through school itself, we tend to experience because we're with other people, but it's not part of the curriculum. The reason I'm bringing this forward is because not only do we not learn about how to be social, which is an incredible skill, but even if that were the case, how often are we turning that inward and understanding how to use the skills of understanding other people in order to understand ourselves?
Mhm.
And so the first thing that I would say to go within is to treat yourself as if you were attempting to create a best friend. True best friends, this is not okay. Well, sometimes we, and I've been here, like you want to meet, you want to connect with someone because you want something from them. Like,
Mm.
what can I get out of them? What can I, and then sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's unconscious in that. Um, and I've been in both. But if you really desire like the true best friends in your lives, you don't have there's not an outcome, there's not a goal. It just is. But you take the time to understand them. What are their likes, their dislikes? What makes them light up? What are they afraid of? What excites them? Why? Why are they them? There's so many questions. And so you could use something like ChatGPT to connect and start to ask, okay, hey, here's a prompt. I really want to get to know myself. What are some of the best questions I can start to ask myself? And can I use this thread to help me understand myself at a greater capacity? And can you be an advocate for me through the process? Something simple like that could be a really great tool to get someone into the habit of understanding how to be your own best friend. Because once you have that as a core foundation, it does start to become a lot easier.
Yeah. And that's amazing advice. That was a tool that I utilized.
Yeah.
It was key because you're right. We know a lot of our friends and family members better than we know ourselves.
Mhm.
We know what they like, often more than we know what we like,
Yeah.
because we go along with what they like. But if someone asks us what we like, we're like, I don't know. Whatever you want. So it is those fundamental things that we need to begin. If we're going to align with our own purpose, we need to know who we are. And then we can align with self and align with purpose. But we got to start kind of at the beginning.
Mhm.
And that is getting to know who we are. So that is such amazing advice. And understanding our why, right? Like, why? That's another big one. And using an AI is a great way to do that. Or just kind of sitting down. Why do I believe what I believe about everything in life? From our belief systems around politics, religion, I don't bring it all out. Why do you believe what you believe? Is it because your family believed it? Is it because your friends believed it? Is it truly because it's what you believe? Know your whys. If someone challenges you, you're going to want to be able to express why you believe what you believe and not feel that you have to defend it,
Mhm.
just that you know how to support it.
Yeah, it's really easy to have an opinion on something. It takes a whole other level to have an understanding around something.
Yeah.
And so I love, I mean, you're your tool of the 7 whys. I mean, if you really want a challenge, that's a great one. Uh, Even just getting through 2 or 3 is hard. You know, the first why around something, and, well, okay, well, why do I feel that, or why do I think that? Why? And it just, oh man, by the time you get to the 7th, it, it could take you months or even years to even complete the full 7th why. And that's what an incredible challenge.
That's why I love kids though, because they keep asking why. It's kind of one of those things. And the point of the 7 whys, if anybody is into that, it's like this 7 chakra centers or 7 energy centers of the body, which represent very different parts of us, right?
Mhm,
And so you might have different parts of you that store different reasons why, from the vocal part of you or the heart centered feeling part of you or the power center part of you. Is it a power play? Is that why you feel the way you do? Is it a safety part of you? Is it a creative part of you? Why? Where is this coming from different parts of who you are?
mhm,
What is it grounded in? And what parts of you hold on to it stronger than other parts of you?
mm,
And it really does. It really, really does create a whole different way of looking at things. So, but as we get into this alignment with purpose, these are key things to know, because the more you align with who you are and your purpose and you are with it, you be in it, things will come at you from the world. You have to stand centered in it. You have to plant yourself like a tree and be ready. And having this information will help you greatly. So, so if you are ready to plant yourself like a tree and be in alignment and you are looking for any additional support, man, do we have resources for you. We have a lot of it right here on the Heart Leader podcast, so you don't even have to leave. You can just continue watching right here. Explore all of our different playlists, explore everything we've got going on here. But if you are looking for supplemental resources, we have Silence Your Inner Critic, which is an amazing book, and you can check that out by hopping on over. We've got a new website right over on sweevera.org, all kinds of new branding. You can check out the book there. You can also check out all of the other fun, cool, amazing things we've got going on to support you right there, sweevera.org. Look forward to seeing you again on the next one.